Shadows and Loyalties. Two hearts. Two gangs. One dangerous love. Scene 1. Collision of shadows. The warehouse reeked of rust, gasoline, and blood. Neon lights outside flickered through the cracked windows, throwing the room into jagged shards of color. Violante di Giuseppe moved like a shadow, black coat brushing the cold concrete floor, eyes scanning the room with lethal precision. The package she'd come for wasn't here, yet the familiar heartbeat of chaos told her she wasn't alone. From the far corner, a soft tap echoed, heels clicking against metal. Well, if it isn't the Queen of Black, a voice drawled, teasing, smooth as silk but dangerous. Sabrina Brie Lucarelli stepped into the light, hair perfectly arranged, boots shining. Today leather. Always meticulous, always exact. Her eyes glinted with amusement as they locked on Vi. Vi's lips twitched. I should have known you'd be here. Do you follow me around now, or is this strictly business? Brie's smirk was all mischief. Business, darling. But the world has a funny way of letting the interesting packages find each other. Vi's hand instinctively went to her gun, but her mind froze as Brie's gaze didn't flinch. Interesting, Vi repeated, her voice low, dark. Careful, Brie. That word tends to get people killed around me. Then maybe I should stick closer, Brie purred, tilting her head. Might keep us both alive. The tension crackled like live wires. They circled each other, each movement a subtle challenge. Every step, every glance, whispered a dangerous truth. They wanted this, and they knew they shouldn't. Then came the sound of their shared enemy. The rival gang barged in, rifles blazing. Instinct took over. Vi and Brie moved as a single unit, fluid and synchronized. Black against leather, precise and deadly. Shots rang. Concrete cracked. Orders shouted. But beneath it all, in the chaos, their hands brushed, just barely, but enough to ignite a fire neither wanted to admit. Brie grinned, ducking behind a crate. You know, she whispered through the gun smoke, I think we'd make a killer team if we weren't, you know, mortal enemies. Vi's jaw tightened. Don't push it, she hissed. But her heart, traitorous as ever, skipped anyway. As they disappeared into the shadows, leaving carnage behind, one thing was certain, they were both doomed. By loyalty, by blood, and by each other. Scene 2. Turf Tango. The streets smelled of rain and asphalt, the kind of city drizzle that made leather slick and coats cling. Vi's boots echoed against the alley walls as she collected intel from one of her informants, quietly, efficiently, deadly professional. Except she wasn't alone. Oh, look who's playing detective tonight. Brie's voice cut through the rain, teasing, warm with mock surprise. She leaned against a street lamp, arms crossed, rain dripping off her perfectly tailored jacket. I'd say you're trespassing, but we both know that would be a lie. Vi froze for half a heartbeat, then let the shadow of a smirk cross her face. Brie, should I be surprised, or should I be plotting how to kill you where you stand? Brie rolled her eyes, stepping closer. Careful, Vi. Threats are much less intimidating when I know you secretly like me. I don't like you, Vi said, voice clipped, but her pulse betrayed her. Right, mortal enemies. Totally. Brie's grin widened. Then why do I feel like you just miss me, Did you miss me? Don't test me, Vi replied, but a corner of her mouth twitched. Brie laughed softly. Test? Me? No, I'm not the one risking your life every time you look at me like that. The tension stretched like a wire about to snap. A nearby shipment truck rumbled, alerting them both that their respective errands overlapped again. Looks like we're headed the same way, Vi muttered, scanning the street. I guess destiny loves irony, Brie said, falling in step beside her. Their shoulders brushed accidentally? Perhaps. Each step was a delicate balance between danger and desire. They moved through the shadows, completing errands for their Mafia Queens, covering each other silently, bantering quietly, every word a spark in the dark. By the time they reached the rendezvous point, Vi's target neutralized, Brie's message delivered, neither spoke of the heat lingering between them. Their world demanded loyalty. Their hearts demanded rebellion. As they parted ways in the rain-soaked night, Vi couldn't stop her eyes from following Brie's silhouette disappearing down the alley. Brie, on her end, grinned to herself, whispering to the rain, "This is going to be fun." Scene 3. Crossfire of Loyalties. The docks reeked of salt, diesel, and old secrets. Shipping containers loomed like silent sentinels, dark metal monoliths waiting to swallow anyone foolish enough to linger too long. Violante di Giuseppe crouched behind a stack of crates, eyes scanning the dockworkers with predatory precision. Tonight's errand: intercept a shipment carrying weapons for a rival gang attempting to muscle into her queen's territory. Clean, quick, deadly. Except she wasn't alone. A soft click of heels echoed between the containers. Sabrina Lucarelli appeared, effortlessly poised, as if she owned the rain-slicked dock. Her eyes glimmered with mischief under the harsh floodlights. Well, isn't this ironic? Two enemies, the same prize. How convenient. Vi's jaw tightened. Lucarelli. This is my territory. Step lightly. Bree tilted her head, smirk curving like a knife. Your territory? Funny, I thought it belonged to whoever had the better aim tonight. The two women locked eyes, an unspoken challenge passing between them, danger, skill, and an undeniable spark. They were rivals at the top of the food chain, second in command of two mafia dynasties that had been at war for years. Blood spilled over every inch of the city because of them, yet here they were, circling each other like predators on the same scent. Shots rang out suddenly. Gangsters from both sides had spotted them. Vi dove behind a crate, Bree ducking to her right, their movements instinctively synchronized. You're reckless, Vi hissed, firing her weapon with precise efficiency. I could say the same about you, Bree shot back, grinning despite the gunfire. They took cover, separated by only a few crates, hearts hammering, not just from the crossfire, but from the proximity of each other. Fingers brushed as they ducked simultaneously. Vi froze, a heat rising she would never admit out loud. Bree's smirk widened, and for a second, the battle felt secondary. Maybe after this, Bree murmured, voice low, teasing we could talk. Or not. Vi's glare was sharp, deadly, and betraying nothing. Don't get used to it, she said, though her pulse betrayed her. By the time reinforcements arrived for both gangs, the shipment was destroyed, the mission technically a draw. Vi disappeared into the shadows, Bree melting into another alley. Both knew they'd see each other again, because the city was too small for two women this determined, and too dangerous for hearts this reckless. And somewhere in the chaos, in the smoke and gunfire, they realized just how impossible it was to stay away. Scene 4. Thrones and Schemes. Violante di Giuseppe sat across from Mafia Queen, Esmeralda Bartolini, in the marble-lined war room of the Bartolini estate. The air smelled of cigar smoke, polished wood, and power. Charts and maps of the city lay spread across the table, pins marking territories, shipment routes, and recent skirmishes. Vi, you've done well intercepting the Rossetti arms shipment, her queen purred, voice like velvet laced with steel. But they're becoming bold. They're testing us. I want a plan. No mercy. No mistakes. Vi nodded, fingers tracing the city's map. Understood, ma'am. We hit them where it hurts. I have eyes on their docks, the usual supply lines, but if war breaks loose, it's going to be brutal. Casualties on both sides, more than either of us have seen in years. Esmeralda's lips curved into a dangerous smile. Good. Brutal is effective. And remember, loyalty above all. Across the city, Sabrina Lucarelli was sitting at her own queen, Mariella Rossetti's side in a room just as imposing, just as cold, a different color palette, but the same dangerous elegance. She was dressed impeccably in a cream-tailored suit, hair perfect, shoes polished. The Bartolini shipments are increasing. They're desperate, Bree reported, hands on her lap, calm and controlled. I recommend cutting off their supply lines tonight. Hit them hard, show no hesitation. Mariella leaned forward, fingers steepled. You know the cost if this goes sideways. You know the war could escalate into a bloodbath. Bree's smirk was invisible to her queen, but her eyes glittered like knives. I know. And I'm prepared. They'll regret stepping into our path. Later that night, Vi and Bree happened to cross paths in the same shadowed alley outside the city's financial district, both carrying plans and intel from their respective queens. "You seem busy," Vi said, voice low, teasing but edged with warning. Bree tilted her head, glancing at the folders in Vi's hands. "And you? Planning carnage again, or just taking meticulous notes on your inevitable downfall?" Vi's smirk was sharp. "I think we both know what would happen if war breaks loose, and neither of our bosses will forgive anything less than total annihilation." "Then we're in for a long, bloody season," Bree said, voice softening just a fraction, though her gaze held the same fire. "And somehow, we'll keep running into each other." Vi's hand brushed Bree's for a heartbeat too long, and they both flinched, masking the stolen heat beneath professional composure. Two women at the top of their dangerous worlds, rivals by loyalty, enemies by blood, yet caught in a pull neither could resist. Scene 5, Instincts Don't Lie. The abandoned textile mill loomed like a rusted beast, its broken windows staring down at the night like blind eyes. Vi slipped silently through a side entrance, gun drawn, all black as always, moving with the purpose her queen demanded. Her intel said a smaller rogue gang, the Raspas, were stashing stolen ammo here. Quick mission. In. Out. No witnesses. What she didn't expect was the click of measured footsteps echoing from the opposite side of the hall. Steps too confident to be a Raspa. Too precise. Too infuriatingly familiar. Damn it, Vi breathed under her breath. And then, "Well, hello, darkness incarnate," Bree whispered from the shadows, stepping into the faint moonlight like she was arriving for a fashion show instead of a firefight. Tonight, black fitted suit, ponytail sharp enough to cut glass. "Fancy seeing you here." Again. Vi glared, but her pulse betrayed her like a traitor waving a white flag. "I'm working," she muttered. "Don't you have your own corners of the city to terrorize?" Bree smiled that wicked, playful smile. "Oh, but this one was calling to me. Must be fate. Or terrible planning on your end." Vi rolled her eyes. "You're impossible. And yet you keep running into me. Coincidence?" "Sure, Querida." Before Vi could retaliate with a snark of her own, a metallic clatter echoed. Both women spun toward the sound, and the Raspas burst out from behind a line of dismantled machinery, guns raised. Shouts. The crack of gunfire. Chaos erupting like a match dropped in gasoline. Vi dove behind an overturned table. Bree slid beside a column, firing back with clean, controlled precision. Bullets pinged off the walls, splinters flying. "Do they ever knock?" Bree shouted over the gunfire. "They're Raspas," Vi called back. "Their idea of knocking is spraying bullets until someone answers." A shot ricocheted off the wall inches from Bree's face. She flinched just slightly, but Vi saw it. And something in her chest snapped. A raw, instinctive surge. Before she knew she'd made the decision, she moved. Vi darted across the open floor, sliding behind Bree, grabbing her by the waist and yanking her out of the line of fire just as a Raspa leveled his rifle at her head. Bree stumbled into Vi's chest, breath stolen. "What the hell?" "You weren't covered," Vi growled, firing 3 clean shots, dropping 2 Raspas instantly. Bree blinked, stunned. "I had it under control." Vi snarled, "You would have been perforated." "And you care because?" Bree asked, one brow arching even as she smirked, cheeks flushed from the adrenaline and the closeness. Vi's jaw locked. Her heartbeat did not. "Don't flatter yourself," she said, voice low, almost dangerous. "I just react." "Oh, you reacted, all right," Bree purred, leaning just a little too close as bullets flew past. "Picked me up like I'm yours to protect." "Shut up and shoot," Vi hissed, but her ears were burning. Together, too effortlessly, they cleared the remaining Raspas, moving in perfect sync as if trained together since birth. When the last body dropped, silence filled the mill. Heavy. Electric. Loaded. Bree stepped closer, eyes softening not with weakness, but with recognition. "What are we doing, Vi?" she whispered. Vi looked away, then back, then away again. "Something stupid," she muttered. "Very, very stupid." Bree smiled, slow and dangerous. "Good. I've always liked stupid." Scene 6, Queen's eyes, hearts on fire. Vi returned to the Bartolini estate, slick with rain, adrenaline still thrumming in her veins. She strode into the war room, every movement calculated, deadly calm, except for the heat in her chest that refused to subside. Mariella's gaze was sharp, evaluating, slicing right through her composure. Report. Vi laid out the mission with crisp precision. Raspas neutralized, shipment destroyed, no collateral. Every word polished, every detail exact. Impressive, her queen said, leaning back in her chair. But you seem different tonight. Distracted. Vi stiffened, lips tightening. Just tired. Nothing else. Her queen's eyes narrowed. Tired or flustered? Something or someone got under your skin. Vi's jaw clenched. No one. She hated how her voice sounded weaker than intended. Her queen leaned forward, eyes glinting with sharp amusement. Don't lie to me, Vi. You're not subtle. Not even close. Vi's gaze flicked to the table, to the city map beneath her fingers, to anywhere but the queen's piercing eyes. I said it's nothing, Esme. A pause. Heavy. Loaded. Then the Esmeralda's lips curved into a knowing, dangerous smile. Very well. But I'll be watching. Across the city, Bree returned to the Rossetti headquarters, calm, composed, but cheeks still tinged with warmth beneath her meticulously applied makeup. Mariella's sharp gaze took her in immediately. You're late, her queen said, voice silk over steel. And your report, competent, yes. But something's off. I can feel it. Bree's smirk was automatic, though a blush betrayed her. Just running against the clock. Nothing else. Mariella's brow lifted. Nothing else? Really, Bree? You look distracted. Am I wrong? Bree's eyes darted away, fingers fidgeting with the edge of her folder. I'm fine. Mission success, nothing more. Mariella leaned back, predatory in her composure. Noted. But remember, any weakness can be exploited. Bree straightened immediately, mask back in place, but the fire behind her eyes was undeniable. Later, when both women are alone in their separate rooms, the memory of the other hangs heavy in the air. Vi feels Bree's presence like a phantom touch. Bree tastes Vi's smirk on her tongue. Duty says loyalty. Queens demand obedience. Blood says revenge. But fire says something else entirely. Scene 7. Bar sparks and hidden gazes. The bar was dimly lit, smoke curling lazily from ornate lamps, the scent of whiskey and perfume hanging thick in the air. A neutral territory. The kind of place where contracts could be whispered and enemies could mingle, if they were careful. Vi slid onto a high stool at the far end, ordering a neat whiskey. Eyes scanning, calculating, Esmeralda Rossetti's instructions fresh in her mind. She was here to meet a supplier, not flirt, not engage, not, well, Bree. Bree walked in moments later, cocktail in hand, scanning the room with that meticulous precision Vi knew all too well. And yes, she saw Vi, perched like a shadow at the bar, posture perfect, dark coat absorbing the dim light. Wonderful, Bree muttered under her breath, smirk tugging at her lips. Fate has a sick sense of humor. Vi noticed Bree immediately, chest tightening, pulse betraying her calm exterior. She raised a brow, a silent dare across the room. Bree's smirk widened, fingers brushing her drink as if unconsciously. Neither moved to approach. They didn't have to. The tension vibrated like an electric current in the air, a conversation without words. Minutes stretched, glances flickered, nearly collisions avoided. Finally, Bree left the bar gracefully, offering a single, fleeting smile that burned straight through Vi's carefully maintained composure. Scene 8. Queen's Council. Morning light spilled through towering windows in a neutral, fortified meeting room. Maps of the city, reports, and intel were spread across the polished table. A joint council, 2 queens, 2 second-in-command women. Vi took her place next to her Esmeralda, Bree across from Mariella. Both women sat rigid, eyes forward, faces neutral. Every fiber screamed awareness of the other, but protocol demanded indifference. The queens began their discussion: territories, trades, skirmishes, new threats. Business only. Words precise. Numbers, stats, orders. Bree and Vi answered questions when addressed, but every slight brush, accidental elbows, crossing papers, the occasional glance, made hearts race. Their hands trembled slightly, though they masked it perfectly. At one point, Bree's pen dropped, and Vi's reflex made her lean just enough to catch it, their fingers brushing for half a heartbeat before pulling back with lightning speed. Eyes met, unspoken acknowledgement, but neither dared a smile. Their queens noticed nothing, and that was the point. Everything had to appear flawless. Loyalty first, fire second. When the meeting ended, both women left simultaneously, each stealing a glance over her shoulder. Two enemies, two queens, one forbidden fire that neither could snuff out. Scene 9, crossed wires and gunfire. The abandoned textile warehouse smelled of sawdust and rust, moonlight slicing through broken windows. Vi moved silently, boots absorbing sound, eyes scanning for the shipment of cash her queen demanded intercepted. Everything precise. Everything calculated. Until a faint click echoed from the opposite side of the hall. Vi froze, fingers tightening around her gun. Great. Someone else is here. From the shadows, Bree's voice purred, playful as ever, dripping with amusement. And here I thought I was the only chaos in your night, Di Giuseppe. Vi's heart slammed against her ribs, but her voice remained ice. Lucarelli. Out of my way. I have business to handle. Oh? And here I thought this was my business, Bree teased, stepping forward, heels echoing on the concrete. Funny how these things overlap. Must be fate. Or bad planning. Vi's smirk was sharp, venom-laced with humor. Or maybe the universe finally got tired of our separation. Bree raised an eyebrow. Separation? Darling, I don't recall consenting to it. They circled, each movement measured, teasing, dangerous. Their fingers brushed briefly as they reached for the same crate of cash. Sparks. Literally. Before the heat could fully ignite, a hail of bullets erupted. Another small rival gang had stumbled onto the shipment. Instinct took over. Vi dove behind a crate, but Bree was directly in the line of fire. Without thinking, Vi lunged, yanking Bree down behind cover. The proximity made them both catch their breath. Careful, Vi hissed, voice low and fierce. I don't intend to lose anyone tonight, least of all you. Bree blinked, smirk curling, voice sultry even under fire. You mean, your favorite enemy? You're infuriating, Vi growled, guns snapping up. And yet here we are, saving each other's lives. Bree shot back, rolling her eyes as she fired. Perhaps I should thank you. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to like you. Rossetti would murder me. Likewise, Vi shot back, her sarcasm cutting through the chaos. And Esmeralda wouldn't forgive me for getting distracted by you. Bullets pinged off metal, crates toppled. They moved like a single, lethal unit, flirting and bantering while keeping each other alive. Ever think, Bree yelled over the gunfire, that we might be the worst and best thing for each other? Vi's jaw tightened, heartbeat betraying her. Don't get used to it, she snapped, though her eyes lingered far too long. By the time the rival gang scattered, both women were standing, chests heaving, smirks and amusement barely hidden beneath the adrenaline. Bree leaned against a crate, teasing, voice low. You know, if we weren't mortal enemies, this would have been fun. Vi's eyes flared, dangerous and amused. If we weren't mortal enemies, I might have kissed you by now. But we are, so we die loyal and frustrated, Bree finished for her, winking. Vi shook her head, walking back into the shadows. This is going to be very bad. Bree followed silently, smirk never leaving her face. Oh, it already is. Scene 10, Suspicion in the Shadows. The Bartolini war room smelled of cigar smoke, polished mahogany, and quiet threats. Vi walked in, boots soft on the floor, dossier in hand, careful to mask the heat still burning under her skin from the night's mission. Esmeralda's gaze swept the room like a blade. Report, she commanded, voice velvet laced with steel. Vi gave the details with exacting precision, rival gang neutralized, shipment intercepted, nothing lost. Professional. Controlled. Every word calculated. Yet, the Esmeralda's eyes lingered, sharp and knowing. And the timing tonight. You seem unusually distracted. Did something happen during the operation? Vi stiffened. Her pulse hammered a traitorous rhythm. Nothing. Just the usual complications. Complications, the Esme repeated, voice low, dangerous. You're lying, Vi. Vi's lips pressed into a tight line. I am not. Esme leaned back, eyes glinting. Your tone suggests otherwise. Something or someone caught your attention. I expect honesty. Vi clenched her jaw, every instinct screaming, don't admit it. Esme, I focus on the mission. Nothing else. A faint smile tugged at Esme's lips. We'll see. Because someone seems alive tonight more than usual. Across town, Bree returned to Rossetti HQ, dossier in hand, trying to shake off the heat from Vi's proximity. Mariella's gaze fell immediately, like a hawk circling prey. You handled the raspas efficiently, Mariella said. But your reports don't tell the full story. Bree's smirk was automatic, hiding the lingering warmth on her cheeks. Everything went according to plan, ma'am. Nothing unexpected. Really? Mariella leaned forward, voice silk over steel. Because the timing, your precision, there's a sparkle in your eye that doesn't belong to victory alone. Care to explain? Bree's throat tightened. She tilted her head, lips curved in a professional smile. I appreciate the compliment, March. But I assure you, my attention was entirely on the mission. Mariella's gaze didn't waver. Good. Keep it that way. Any weakness, any distraction, can cost us everything. Later, both Vi and Bree retreated to their private quarters, hands trembling slightly, hearts still caught in the invisible net the other had woven. They had to hide everything: smiles, warmth, glances, desire. Queens watching, rival loyalties binding them, blood on their hands. Yet the fire remained. One day, they both knew the walls of duty and loyalty would crumble. But until then, they lied. And burned. And waited. Scene 11, Queens in the crossfire. The abandoned pier was slick with rain, the city lights glinting off wet asphalt like scattered diamonds. Vi had arrived first, Esme at her side, overseeing a drop-off that could tip the balance of power in their favor. Every movement precise, every eye scanning. And then, a roar of engines and heels, and Mariella appeared, perfectly composed, Bree at her side. Their presence hit the pier like a storm. Eyes snapped. Guns subtly shifted in holsters. Tension crackled like live wires. Vi and Bree froze for half a heartbeat, their hearts hammering for entirely different reasons. Then instinct took over. They were standing directly across from each other. If bullets started flying, they would have to shoot each other. The Mafia Queens' voices snapped, cold and lethal. You dare bring this shipment here without my knowledge? Bartolini's queen hissed, eyes blazing. And you think you can claim this dock as your own? Rossetti's queen spat, icy venom in every word. Vi's pulse raced, hand hovering near her gun, but her gaze locked on Bree's. Breath caught, knowing any misstep could ignite chaos. Esme. Vi barked, stepping forward, voice sharp and commanding. This is not the place. Not the time. Esmeralda whipped around, anger blazing. Vi. No. Vi cut her off, eyes dangerous. This argument will happen later. We leave now. Before someone makes a mistake that can't be undone. Bree's lips twitched into a smirk, half relief, half amusement. Finally, some sense, she muttered under her breath, brushing past the crates to Mariella. Vi grabbed Esme by the arm, dragging her toward the waiting car. We go. Now. Calm down. Breathe. Esmeralda's glare tried to pierce her, but Vi held firm. The other side will survive tonight. We don't need a bloodbath in the rain. Rossetti's queen was similarly restrained by Bree's presence, huffing but following, guns still holstered. Vi and Bree exchanged a fleeting glance across the distance as their bosses got into the cars, both smirking under their controlled facades. One glance, one smirk, and the fire reignited, hotter than ever. Scene 12, Fallout in Shadows. The city had gone quiet by the time Vi parked the sleek black Bartolini car in her underground garage. Rain still slicked the streets, reflections of neon signs flickering across the hood. Esmeralda remained silent, still simmering, eyes sharp as knives. Vi exhaled slowly, shoulders taut. Tonight was controlled. No one got shot. That's a win, right? Esmeralda's gaze softened ever so slightly, but only for a fraction of a second. It wasn't perfect, she murmured. Then sharper, and I saw the way you looked at her. Vi froze, pulse spiking. I looked at nothing, she said firmly. I was making sure the mission stayed alive. You're lying. I am not lying. We left with everything intact. That's what matters. Esmeralda finally let the silence sit heavy in the car. Vi exhaled again, body still humming with the memory of Bree's presence. Across town, Bree leaned against the polished wall of Rossetti HQ, arms crossed, smirk carefully erased from her face, though heat still lingered in her cheeks. You let them leave? Mariella demanded, voice low and dangerous. Bree shrugged, pretending to stretch her composure. They did nothing to provoke a firefight. Smart decision. Mariella's sharp gaze didn't waver. And you, your glances, your reactions. What's going on? Bree's lips curved into a tight, controlled smile. I react to threats. That's my job. Yes, Mariella said, voice dripping suspicion. Even the familiar ones? Bree's pulse hitched just slightly. Exactly. My job. Threats only. Later, both women found themselves alone in their respective rooms, fingers tracing invisible lines across their desks. The adrenaline had faded, but the fire remained. Vi thought of Bree's smirk under gunfire, the way her eyes had glimmered even as bullets whizzed past. Bree remembered Vi pulling her to safety, her chest pressed to Vi's, breath hot and near. Impossible. Forbidden. Loyalty first. And yet, neither could stop replaying the moment, their rivalry twisting into something far more combustible. Scene 13, neutral territory, close and dangerous. The bar smelled of polished wood, aged whiskey, and a hint of danger, the kind of place where secrets were safe, but eyes were sharp. Vi had come alone, needing a night off from guns, Mafia Queens, and city chaos. A single drink, maybe two, and some breathing room. She slid onto a high stool in the corner, coat draped over the chair, eyes scanning the room like a predator even in relaxation mode. And then, Bree appeared. Oh, for God's sake, Bree murmured under her breath, spotting Vi with that perfect mix of mischief and menace. I thought we were taking turns staying out of each other's lives. Vi's pulse stuttered. Apparently fate doesn't get the memo. Bree sauntered over, sliding into the seat next to Vi. Close. Far too close. The heat between them was almost tangible. Busy night? Bree asked, voice smooth, teasing, hand brushing lightly against Vi's arm, not accidental, but slow enough to let Vi notice every flicker of sensation. Vi's gaze sharpened, almost a warning. You're dangerous. And you like it, Bree countered softly, tracing a finger along the edge of Vi's sleeve, careful, teasing, daring. Vi's breath hitched just slightly. This is a very bad idea, she said, voice low, controlled. But her body refused to retreat. She didn't move away. Not even a centimeter. Bree smirked, leaning closer, hand brushing a stray lock of hair from Vi's cheek. The proximity made the air around them tense, hot, charged. Bad ideas are usually the most fun. Vi's fingers flexed against the glass of whiskey, trying to anchor herself. We have bosses. We have loyalty. This ends in chaos if. And yet, Bree whispered, leaning so close their shoulders touched. You stay. You look. You can't resist. Vi's jaw clenched. Eyes darting to the floor for a fraction of a second, then back up, meeting Bree's smoldering gaze. You make it very hard to resist. But don't mistake this. Bree pressed just a little closer, her thigh brushing Vi's, fingers ghosting along the small of her back. I don't mistake anything, she said, voice low, teasing, dangerous. I enjoy it. Every second. Vi swallowed, heart hammering. This ends badly. Oh, Vi, Bree murmured, lips close enough that Vi could feel her warmth. Everything about us ends badly. And yet, we're still here. For a heartbeat, they stayed like that, too close to touch, too close to deny, dangerously aware of the forbidden fire between them. Scene 14, Interrupted Temptation. Vi and Bree were leaning close, whispers of teasing and danger threading between them, hands almost brushing, breaths mingling over whiskey-scented air. The world had shrunk to that corner, a bubble of heat, danger, and forbidden thrill. And then, the shadow appeared. Vi's eyes flicked up, just a flick, and froze. There she was. Esmeralda, sharp as ever, coat swinging, heels clicking against the wood, scanning the bar like she could see through walls. Time slowed. Bree noticed immediately. Her smirk faltered, just for a heartbeat, before she leaned back, a teasing shrug masking her curiosity. "Someone you know?" she whispered, voice low, dangerous, but tinged with amusement. Vi's throat tightened. She slid back, maintaining a calm that betrayed nothing, though her heartbeat screamed in her ears. "Yes. Someone I need to answer to," she said, voice clipped. Esmeralda didn't approach yet, merely watched, arms crossed, taking in the scene like a hawk circling prey. But Vi felt every step of scrutiny, every expectation in that gaze. Bree tilted her head, letting her fingers linger near Vi's hand a second longer, provocative, teasing, a silent challenge, but Vi finally moved just enough to break the dangerous proximity. "I need to handle this," Vi murmured. Her voice barely a whisper, low, controlling, though her pulse betrayed the tension. Bree's lips curved, smirk teasing, soft amusement still in her eyes. "Fine. Go be obedient, Vi. I'll wait." Vi's gaze flicked toward Esmeralda, who finally stepped closer, voice low but carrying weight. "Vi, what's going on?" "Nothing distracts you." "Not danger, not threats, not anyone." Vi swallowed, chest tight, forcing calm over the storm within. "Nothing. Just mission complications." Esmeralda's sharp eyes softened just slightly, not fooled, but giving Vi space. "Complications, HM? I'll be waiting for honesty later. Don't make me chase it." Vi nodded once, tight, controlled. "Understood." She rose from the stool, every step deliberate, leaving Bree behind with a smirk that promised, teased, and threatened all at once. The unspoken fire between them hummed, impossible to extinguish. Bree watched her go, the corner suddenly empty, the air still heavy with their shared danger and attraction. She sipped her drink, grin tugging at her lips. "We'll see about that," she murmured to the empty space Vi had occupied. Scene 15, Aftermath at HQ. Vi returned to the Bartolini estate, every step deliberate, coat brushing over polished floors. The adrenaline from the bar still thrummed faintly in her veins, and though she had broken away from Bree, the memory of the warmth, the teasing, the brush of skin lingered like a ghost she couldn't shake. Esmeralda waited in the private office, tall, composed, yet her gaze was soft, piercing, knowing. She didn't need to speak immediately. Vi felt the weight of her stare pressing, assessing, reading. Finally, her queen broke the silence. "I saw you tonight." Vi froze mid-step, heart hammering. "I don't," Esme interrupted, voice low but commanding. "I don't need excuses. I need honesty." Vi swallowed, jaw tight. It's nothing. Just neutral territory." Nothing happened. Esmeralda leaned back, fingers steepled, eyes narrowing in that way that cut through Vi's defenses like a knife. "You're lying. You've never been distracted like that. Not during missions, not during negotiations, not even when the stakes were life and death. And yet tonight, you were someone else entirely." Vi's fingers flexed at her sides, trying to anchor herself. I can't. Bree, she's dangerous," Esme finished for her, voice calm but sharp. "Yes, a rival. And yet, you linger. You think about her. You want her." Vi's lips parted, a breath caught between denial and truth. "It's complicated." Esme's eyes softened fractionally, the steel still present but tempered by history. "Vi, love between rivals never works. Never. It destroys kingdoms, destroys lives. And you loyal, disciplined, untouchable you, are teetering on a precipice you cannot afford." Vi's chest tightened. "I know," she murmured. "But it's not something I can control. And yet I will not let it interfere. My loyalty comes first." Esme reached forward, placing a steady hand on Vi's shoulder. I know who you are, Vi. And I know what you're capable of. But don't fool yourself, feelings this strong are dangerous. Remember, your heart is not immune to fire, even when your mind is. Vi exhaled slowly, eyes flicking down, mind spinning with Bree's teasing smirk, the heat of her presence, the impossible pull she couldn't ignore. Understood. I'll keep it in check. Esme gave a slow nod, satisfied enough for now, though a shadow of worry lingered in her eyes. Good. Because we cannot afford distractions. Not now. Not ever. Alone, Vi sank into her chair, every muscle taut with suppressed longing. Bree's image hovered in her mind, smirk and all, and the truth Vi refused to say out loud burned hotter than any loyalty-bound mission. Scene 16. Bree's perspective. Lingering sparks. Bree settled into her sleek leather chair at Rossetti HQ, dossier on her lap, but her mind was elsewhere. The mission had gone smoothly, rivals scattered, money secured, but none of that mattered. Not really. Her thoughts kept drifting back to Vi's black coat, that icy precision, the sharp glint in her eyes when Bree had dared to tease too closely. That brush of her thigh at the bar. That fleeting warmth in a corner that should have been neutral, safe, anonymous. Bree let out a soft, frustrated chuckle, leaning back. You're such a pain, she muttered to herself, voice low, sarcastic. Her fingers tapped the edge of the dossier, restless, betraying her usual control. She remembered Vi's warning, this ends badly. Bree's smirk had been irrepressible. You think I care? She whispered under her breath, smirk curling. No. You're worth the chaos. Her mind replayed the closeness, the teasing touches that Vi hadn't pulled away from, the warmth of a presence she wasn't supposed to want. Bree's pulse quickened as she thought of that moment when Vi's eyes flicked up and oh, that precise instant, realization hit. Bree's smirk had faltered, just a flicker, but Vi had moved slightly away. Funny, Bree thought. That tiny movement had been victory and torture all at once. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand, smirk returning, sharp and playful. I could drive you insane, Vi. One look, one touch at the wrong moment, and boom. Chaos. Her fingers traced the edge of her chair absent-mindedly. And yet, somehow, you don't run. You stay, even when you know it's dangerous. Loyal to your queen, loyal to the war, and yet, you linger. Bree let out a low, teasing sigh, curling her lips in amusement and frustration. You don't even realize how much you crave it. How much you crave me. Her phone buzzed, snapping her back to the mission reality. A report, a new intel drop, another operation that required precision and focus. Bree smirked, tucking the thoughts of Vi into a carefully sealed compartment of her mind. For now. But Bree knew, as she always knew with Vi, that the fire they'd sparked in neutral territory wasn't going to stay contained. Not for long. Scene 17. Mission gone awry. The abandoned shipping yard reeked of diesel and wet steel, crates stacked high like silent sentinels. Bree strode in, boots sharp against the concrete, eyes scanning for Vi. She had expected Vi, the familiar calm in chaos, the precision and wit that made every mission an unspoken game. Instead, she was met with a replacement, a Bartolini operative she didn't know, moving clumsily and already disrupting her plan. Bree's eyes narrowed, jaw tightening. Really? She muttered under her breath, voice low but sharp, dripping sarcasm. You send a stand-in? This is what you call professional. The operative looked up, startled, trying to assert authority. I was sent by Miss Bartolini. Bree cut him off with a sharp laugh, cold and scathing. Sent by whoever, doesn't matter. You're in my way. Move. Crates toppled slightly as she advanced, frustration coiling in her chest. Every step, every misfired instruction from the replacement ignited her temper further. She was precise, methodical, lethal, and this substitute was slow, clumsy, unacceptable. Her gaze flicked toward the shadowed corner, half expecting Vi to appear, smirk in place, ready to banter and tease her back into control. Typical, she muttered, fists flexing. Vi, not here. And I have to deal with this. She gestured sharply at the hapless operative, irritation sizzling. You're the problem, clearly. Bullets pinged off metal as a rival gang approached, drawn to the shipment. Bree's frustration boiled into anger, unnecessary and sharp, as she ripped into the replacement. You're useless. Move. Focus. Her pulse raced, adrenaline sharpening her senses. And yet, in the back of her mind, the absence of Vi made every shot, every movement feel hollow. The banter, the flirting, the dangerous teasing gone. The mission was incomplete, not just in execution, but in the fire Bree expected to feel with Vi at her side. Bree ducked behind a crate, teeth clenched, muttering under her breath, Di Giuseppe, always the universe's biggest prank. Send anyone but her. And with every enemy approaching, every shot fired, Bree's frustration was not just at the substitute, but at the impossible pull she still felt toward Vi, the one she couldn't have, the one missing from the chaos she secretly craved. Scene 18. Arrival in the fire. The crate shook under the sound of gunfire, shadows leaping across steel and concrete. Bree was crouched behind a stack, yelling instructions at the incompetent Bartolini replacement who clearly had no idea what they were doing. Move. Cover me. Don't just stand there like a statue. Bree snapped, teeth gritted, frustration boiling into barely contained fury. Her eyes flicked to the perimeter, every angle compromised, every plan crumbling. And then, the replacement's phone buzzed. A silent text. Their fingers trembled as they showed it to Bree. I'm here. Bree blinked. Her pulse spiked. A smirk tugged at her lips, tempered by exasperation. Finally, about damn time. And then she saw her. Vi emerged from the shadows like a predator in perfect black, coat swirling, gun in hand, eyes sharp and calculating. Her presence alone shifted the entire battlefield, command radiating from every movement. Bree let out a low whistle, sarcasm laced with relief. Well, look who finally decided to show up. I was beginning to think Di Giuseppe forgot who the real problem is. Vi's lips curved into a faint, knowing smirk. Apparently someone needs saving, she said, voice low, teasing, dangerous. Her gaze flicked to Bree, eyes glinting with mischief under fire. Bree's frustration melted into something else entirely, dangerous, magnetic, impossible to ignore. She ducked behind a crate, rolling to cover beside Vi. Do you have any idea how late you are? I was about to. You were about to shoot the wrong person, Vi interrupted, tone dry but warm under the chaos, nudging Bree gently as they moved in sync. Relax. I've got this. Their hands brushed as they reloaded in tandem. Bree's chest hitched. Relax, she muttered, voice low and teasing. I'm far from relaxed. Vi leaned closer under the cover of gunfire, just a whisper away. Neither am I. But we have a mission and somehow, we're still alive. That's a start. Bree smirked, brushing a strand of hair from her eyes, breath catching. You always have to ruin my fun with competence, don't you? And yet, Vi countered, eyes locked on hers as they pivoted to fire, you love it. The world around them was chaos, but in that moment, just a heartbeat in the storm, they were perfectly in sync, teasing, flaring, surviving. And the fire between them burned hotter than ever, under bullets, shadows, and impossible desire. Scene 19, Mission Fallout, Loyalties tested. The safe house was quiet except for the soft hum of city lights outside the reinforced windows. Bree leaned against a steel counter, arms crossed, still wound tight from the mission. The adrenaline had faded, but the memory of Vi beside her, calm, precise, teasing, was an ache she couldn't shake. Her phone buzzed, a message from Rossetti Queen. Debrief. Now. Report everything. And make it clean. Bree smirked faintly, fingers brushing the edge of the phone. Clean. Right. As if anything about Vi, or the mission, could ever be clean. Across town, Vi was in a mirrored office with Bartolini Queen, recapping the mission with cold, methodical precision. Every word, every action was measured. And yet, under the polished exterior, her mind raced. Bree's laugh under fire, the brush of her hand against Vi's coat, impossible to ignore. Esmeralda's gaze was sharp, calculating. You were distracted, Vi. I saw it. Tell me why. Vi's jaw tightened. I was recalibrating. Mission priorities. That's all. Recalibrating. Her queen's tone sharpened. We can't afford distractions. Not from her, not from anyone. If you falter, we fall. And I won't let Rossetti take what's ours because you. Vi's hand flexed. Won't let it happen. Across both debriefings, the queen's suspicions ran parallel. Both saw the way their seconds-in-command lingered on one another, caught between loyalty and something dangerous, something forbidden. Bree stared at the Rossetti files, muttering to herself. This complicates everything. Our turf, our missions, our plans. And now, this, she paused, heart tightening. I can't afford distraction. I can't afford her. Vi's fingers tapped the polished desk, mind spinning with the same reality. Bree's precision, fire, and infuriating smirk replayed behind her eyes. She leaned back, swallowing hard. Loyalty first. Always. But what about this pull? This impossible fire? Both women knew it. The next time they faced each other in the field, the stakes wouldn't just be turf or missions, they'd be heart versus duty, loyalty versus desire. And somewhere in the quiet aftermath, a silent agreement formed in their minds. They would survive, they would protect their queens, they would honor loyalty. But the pull between them was a fire neither could extinguish, and it would only grow hotter. Scene 20. The real test. Fire at the docks. The docks were alive with danger. Rain-slicked crates gleamed under the pale floodlights, and the smell of salt and diesel hung heavy. Both gangs had received intel. A larger rival gang was moving into contested territory, threatening to tip the balance. Vi's team moved in silently, precision and discipline in every step. Bree's Rossetti crew mirrored them from the opposite side, equally sharp, equally deadly. The replacement, already a liability, fumbled a key comms signal, a slip that shattered coordination. Oh, come on, Bree hissed under her breath, teeth clenched. Seriously? The first shots rang out, ricocheting off containers, a violent staccato against the night. Chaos erupted. Orders shouted, bullets flying, crates tumbling. And there, amidst the smoke and danger, Vi and Bree caught sight of each other. Bree raised her gun, aim flickering toward a silhouette that looked like Vi, but she hesitated, consciously missing, letting the shot go wide. Vi, in turn, saw Bree, finger on the trigger, and deliberately fired over her shoulder, careful not to strike. Their hearts raced, adrenaline and desire twining into one impossible knot. The queen's eyes swept the battlefield, noticing the hesitation, the almost imperceptible flinches. What are they doing? Bartolini queen hissed into her comms. Rossetti queen's gaze sharpened, voice clipped. They're not shooting straight. Not at each other. And that is not acceptable in the middle of a firefight. Bree ducked behind a crate, exhaling sharply, heartbeat hammering. She muttered under her breath, tone laced with frustration and amusement. Vi, you better hope I don't lose my patience. Vi's lips curved faintly under her mask, glancing over crates to see Bree safe, smirk just visible. I think we both know what would happen if either of us crossed the line, she murmured to herself. The queens finally regrouped their second-in-commands after the firefight, suspicion simmering in their sharp eyes. Bartolini queen cornered Vi afterward. You're compromised. I saw the hesitation. Tell me this isn't about her. Bree's queen, equally sharp, confronted her. What is going on between you and that Bartolini operative? Don't lie to me. Both Vi and Bree swallowed, hearts still hammering, tension still thick, knowing that what they feel isn't just dangerous, it's a liability to everything they've fought for. Scene 21. Private aftermath. Truths ignited. The Bartolini HQ was quiet, the city outside muted by the night. Vi sat across from Esmeralda, palms resting on the polished desk, fingers flexing slightly. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a hollow ache in its place, the ache of desire and fear intertwined. Esme's gaze was steady, sharp. Vi, I want the truth. That hesitation at the docks, tell me it wasn't about Sabrina Lucarelli. Vi swallowed, chest tight, mind racing. The truth refused to hide. It It was, she admitted, voice low, trembling just enough. I've never felt this way about anyone, Esme. Ever. Not like this. And if it comes down to choosing my loyalty to the gang or her, I would choose her. And that terrifies me. Esme's eyes softened fractionally, a rare flicker of understanding. You know that can destroy everything we've built, she said quietly. But I also know you. And I know the fire between you. Don't waste your loyalty, not on denial. Across town, Bree sat in the Rossetti HQ, alone with Mariella. She leaned back, trying to mask the storm in her chest, but the words came out sharp, honest, tinged with fear. I can't hide it anymore, Bree admitted, voice low, controlled but quivering under the weight of confession. I have feelings for Vi. More than I should. Stronger than I should. And every time I think about her, it's a fire I can't put out. Mariella's gaze was unreadable, lips pressed in a line. And you know how dangerous that is, she said calmly, almost pitying. Your loyalty, everything you've worked for. You understand what you risk. Bree exhaled, letting her shoulders drop slightly. I do. But I don't care. Not when it comes to her. That scares the hell out of me. But it's true. Both women, separated by walls and loyalty, had finally spoken the truth. The fire between them, once simmering, was now undeniable. Neither could hide it, neither could ignore it. And both knew that every mission, every decision, every bullet fired would now carry the weight of hearts entwined with danger. Scene 21. Private aftermath. The impasse. The safe house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your chest, demanding confession. Vi sat across from Esme, fingers flexing on the polished desk, jaw tight. Her eyes were storm-dark, heart hammering in a rhythm she had never allowed herself to feel. Her queen's gaze was sharp, unyielding. Vi, I want the truth. That hesitation at the docks, it wasn't about the mission, was it? Vi swallowed hard. It was her, she admitted, voice low, raw. Sabrina. I've never felt this way about anyone, not like this. And if it comes down to choosing my loyalty to the gang or her, I would choose her. And that terrifies me. The queen's expression softened only slightly, like a shadow passing over steel. You know what that could cost us. I know, Vi said, voice trembling just enough to betray her. I know everything that's at stake. But this, what I feel, it's already here. And I can't pretend it isn't. Across town, Bree sat in her own private office, Rossetti HQ quiet but tense. She leaned back in her chair, exhaling a long breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her fingers tapped the edge of the desk. I can't lie about this anymore, she admitted to her queen, voice low, controlled but breaking under the weight of confession. I have feelings for Vi. Stronger than I should. And every time I think about her, it's like fire in my chest. I can't ignore it. I don't want to ignore it. Her queen's eyes were sharp, calculating. And you know how dangerous that is. I do, Bree said, voice firm despite the tremor beneath. But it doesn't matter. I can't care about danger. Not when it comes to her. Both women sat in silence with their truths laid bare. Neither could deny what they felt, but both understood the impossible position they were in. Loyalty had always been everything. Duty had always been law. And yet, desire had crept in, reckless and consuming. They were at an impasse. To follow the rules, to obey loyalty, meant burying the fire that refused to die. To follow the fire meant risking everything: turf, gangs, missions, queens, survival. And for the first time, both Vi and Bree realized that the only certainty in their lives was the uncertainty between them, and it terrified them more than any rival ever could. Scene 22. Queen's secret meeting. The thread of love. A private room, far from prying eyes, deep in the heart of the city. Neutral territory. Dim lights, the faint hum of a hidden generator, the scent of polished wood and faint smoke. Bartolini Queen and Rossetti Queen sat across from each other, eyes sharp, hands folded deliberately. No guards. No intermediaries. Only calculation. This can't continue, Esmeralda said, voice low but steely. Vi is distracted. I've never seen her like this. And during a mission, that hesitation at the docks, she's a liability. Mariella nodded slowly, expression tight. I know. Bree, the same. She's off. Every operation she touches, she hesitates when she shouldn't. And I've caught her glancing at Vi, again. That fire is dangerous. For them, yes, but also for both our gangs. Esmeralda leaned in, voice a whisper, razor sharp. We can't afford them distracted. They're second in command, vital. If this escalates, and it will, we risk turf, plans, lives. Mariella's jaw tightened. Exactly. We need a decision. Either we separate them completely, enforce the rules, or we allow them to leave. Somewhere far away, where no one knows them, no one can trace them. Their fire cannot reach our operations. Esmeralda exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing in thought. It's impossible, isn't it? Loyalty or love. And we both know if they go together, no one can control it. But if we separate them, we lose something too. The risk is colossal either way. Mariella's smirk was faint, but dangerous. They've already crossed lines we can't unsee. And the moment we attempt to intervene directly, they'll resist. The only way to protect our interests might be to let them choose, without knowing we've stepped aside. Esmeralda's gaze was icy. Let them leave together? Let them go, Esmeralda confirmed. If they stay, they're liabilities. If they leave, maybe we preserve both our gangs and, perhaps give them a chance. It's still a gamble, but the only one that doesn't end with bullets in our hands. A tense silence hung over the room. Two rival queens, plotting together, not for turf, not for domination, but to manage the impossible fire between their second-in-commands. Both women knew this was the first time in years that their priorities converged. The fire between Vi and Bree was dangerous, untamed, and, for once, beyond their reach. Esmeralda finally leaned back, voice low and decisive. Then it's decided. We let them walk away if they must, but no one else can know. The world thinks nothing has changed. We maintain the illusion of control. Mariella nodded. And if they stay? Esmeralda's smile was faint, almost cruel. Then we manage it ruthlessly. But we prepare for war, in case loyalty fails. Scene 23. The guise of training, preparing for contingencies. Bartolini HQ hummed with activity. Vi walked into the strategy room, black coat draped over one arm, eyes scanning the young recruits nervously waiting. Vi, her Esmeralda's voice cut through the hum, calm but firm. You'll be overseeing the new trainees. Make sure they're up to standard. I want someone who could step in if anything happens to you. Vi arched an eyebrow, smirk tugging at her lips despite the tension she felt. Anything happens to me? Are you implying I have a death wish now, Esme? Esmeralda's smile was faint, razor sharp. No, I'm implying that the world is dangerous and second-in-command positions need backup. Choose wisely. Make sure you train the right person. One mistake, and the gang could crumble. Vi nodded slowly, masking the fire that Bree's absence had left in her chest. Of course. I'll make sure they're competent. Across town, Bree sat at the Rossetti HQ, observing recruits practicing under strict supervision. Mariella's voice reached her through the office intercom. Bree, I want you to train the newest recruits personally. Evaluate them, test them, ensure one could take over for you if something unexpected happens. The gang depends on us. Bree's lips curved in a teasing smirk, a flicker of sarcasm in her tone. Something unexpected, huh? Not me getting distracted by someone, perhaps? Mariella's reply was clipped, unreadable. Focus on the task. Loyalty is built through preparation. Make sure the right person can carry the weight if you ever falter. Your discretion matters. Bree exhaled slowly, tension tightening in her chest. She knew the subtext. Even if Mariella didn't say it outright, their feelings for Vi were now a liability, and someone needed to be trained to stand in, just in case. Both women spent the days training recruits, all while their minds drifted to each other. Fingers brushed while demonstrating moves, eyes catching in fleeting moments, sarcasm and flirtation layered over subtle restraint. Every instruction, Every correction carried unspoken tension, a dangerous reminder of what they weren't supposed to feel. And all the while, neither knew that their bosses were already preparing for the possibility that this fire between them could burn everything down or force them to disappear entirely. Scene 24, Vienna, the Queen's decision revealed. The train hummed beneath the night sky, snow starting to coat the edges of the city as Vi's boots clicked against the platform at Vienna Hauptbahnhof. She pulled her coat tighter, eyes scanning the bustling city lights, mind half on the operation and half on Bree. Across the platform, Bree arrived from her own flight, tracksuit immaculate, expression sharp, but there was a flicker of frustration in her eyes. The universe, cruel as ever, seemed to enjoy their coincidences. Neither spoke at first, distance and tension measured out in steps. Eventually, the hotel loomed, warm light spilling onto the snowy street. They checked in separately, unaware that the room had been booked together. When Vi opened the door, the warmth of the suite hit her, and there was Bree, standing at the window, back to her, hair slightly damp from the snow. "Why are you here?" Vi asked, tone sharp, masking a pulse of anticipation. Bree didn't turn immediately. "I was sent to run operations. Build territory. Apparently the same as you." Her voice was even, but the tension coiled like a spring. "By chance, I'm sure." Vi closed the door behind her, a laugh slipping out, sharp, sarcastic. "Vienna is neutral. And yet, here we are." Bree finally turned, eyes locking. "Of course." The universe's sense of humor. Or maybe, someone has a plan. On the desk, 2 sealed envelopes caught their eyes. Vi's first, then Bree's. Hands trembling slightly, they opened them in near silence, reading the elegant handwriting of their queens. "Violante, I know your loyalty runs deep. I know your heart will not forsake the gang for desire. Therefore, I release you. Go. Choose life beyond these walls, beyond war. You are free." Bree's letter mirrored the sentiment. "Sabrina, I have watched. I know your fire, your restraint, and your devotion. You will not betray your loyalty for love. Therefore, I release you. The choice to live beyond this war, with the one your heart desires, is yours. Go." The silence that followed was heavy, almost sacred. Words were unnecessary. They stood there, letting the reality sink in. The weight of years of tension, missions, near misses, and suppressed longing condensed into a single truth. The Mafia Queens had stepped aside. They were no longer bound to duty. Only to each other. Vi's voice was barely above a whisper, breath shaky. They're letting us go." Bree's lips curved in a small, dangerous smirk. "Seems like they finally realized we'd never choose loyalty over this," she said, gesturing between them, eyes burning with fire and relief. Vi stepped closer, all pretense falling away, tone low and teasing yet tender. "So, no one's stopping us now?" "No one," Bree confirmed, a thrill of danger and freedom coursing through her. And in that moment, the city outside Vienna, neutral, cold, beautiful, was theirs. Not for missions, not for gangs, not for blood and war, but for the fire that had burned between them all along. They moved closer, tension melting into raw heat. Hands brushed, fingers intertwined, and for the first time, they were free to choose each other without consequence, without a single gunshot dictating their fate. Scene 25, Vienna, the moment they explode into each other. The suite was warm, lights low, the soft hum of the city beyond the window barely touching the edges of the room. Vi stood by the desk, eyes dark, fingers flexing almost unconsciously. Bree leaned against the wall, arms crossed, smirk dancing across her lips, but it was gone the instant their eyes met, replaced by the fire they'd tried so hard to deny. No words. Not yet. The tension between them vibrated like electricity in the air, thick and unbearable. Then, as if pulled by some invisible force, they crossed the small distance between them. Bree's hand found Vi's chest first, feeling the rapid heartbeat that mirrored her own. "About time," she whispered, lips brushing the shell of Vi's ear, teasing, dangerous. Vi's hands gripped Bree's hips, pulling her flush, body pressed against body. Don't think for a second I'm gentle," she growled, a thrill in her voice, a warning and a promise all at once. Their lips collided in a fury of pent-up longing, sharp and demanding, tasting months of unspoken desire, of stolen glances and near misses. Bree's fingers threaded through Vi's hair, pulling her closer, grinding against the heat that had been simmering for weeks. Vi's hands traced Bree's back, over the curve of her spine, memorizing every inch she'd been denied for too long. Every touch, every gasp, every sharp intake of breath was a declaration. We are ours, finally. Clothes became unnecessary obstacles. Skin met skin, hot, urgent, hungry. Their lovemaking was ferocious, explosive, untamed, a mirror of the protection and loyalty they had shown their queens. Every kiss, every bite, every gasp was both a confession and a claim. Bree pressed her forehead to Vi's, chest heaving, voice rough. I've waited too long for this, she admitted, almost lost in the intensity. Vi's hands cupped her face, thumbs brushing over flushed cheeks. Me too. All those times, all those missions, all the blood and fire, it was worth it, if only for this moment, she murmured. For hours, they existed in pure, unrestrained connection, a storm of fire, passion, and relief. No gang politics, no missions, no queen's expectations, just Vi and Bree, claiming each other fully for the first time. When at last they collapsed against the soft sheets, limbs tangled, breaths ragged, heart still hammering, Vi murmured against Bree's shoulder, no one can take this from us. Bree tightened her arms around her, voice low and content. No one. Not now. Not ever. Outside, Vienna slept peacefully, unaware that in one suite, two women had finally burned away every last boundary, choosing each other completely. Scene 26, Vienna, morning power play. Sunlight filtered through the half-drawn curtains, dust motes dancing in the warm glow. Vi leaned against the wall, black hair falling over one eye, arms crossed, lips quirking in a half-smile. Bree stretched on the bed, tracksuit shirt rumpled, eyes glittering with mischief. So, Vi said, voice low, dangerous, you think you get a lie there looking like that, and I'm supposed to just let it slide? Bree propped herself on an elbow, smirk teasing, voice silk and steel. Oh, I think I earned it. I also think you like it. Admit it, Violante di Giuseppe. You're jealous I'm comfortable. Vi stepped closer, every movement deliberate, predatory. Her hands pinned Bree against the headboard, thumb brushing under her chin, eyes locking with lethal precision. Comfortable? I don't do comfortable. I do control. And you, Sabrina Lucarelli, you've tested me for too long. Bree's laugh was soft, teasing, dangerous. Control? Me? Darling, I've been testing you since day one. And trust me, I'll win eventually. Vi's lips brushed Bree's ear, breath hot, whisper sharp. Eventually isn't good enough. I want you now. Here. Submitting. Or at least, trying. Bree arched her back playfully, eyes glinting, hands skimming Vi's chest. Try? Oh, I am trying, but you'll have to catch me first. Vi smirked, fingers tightening on Bree's wrists, the faintest growl in her throat. Catch you? Honey, I already have. Bree's grin widened, teasing, taunting. And yet, here you are, still arguing. Still trying to bend me. I like a fight, Vi. Don't forget that. Their bodies were close, heat radiating off each other, but neither truly yielding, not yet. Every touch, every glance, every sarcastic jab was a battle and a seduction all at once. The tension between them hummed like a live wire, dangerous and irresistible. Vi leaned in, lips hovering over Bree's, voice low and predatory. I don't play fair. Bree's laugh was breathless, teasing. Neither do I. That's why this works. And even as they danced the endless power play, flirting, pushing, testing, they both knew one thing with brutal clarity. Neither would ever truly win, because neither could resist the other. Scene 27, Vienna, coffee wars and cabin mischief. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, soft and warm, as Vi stretched against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Bree, who was perched on the bed with a steaming cup of coffee. Mine, Vi said, voice low, dangerous. I bought the beans. That makes it my coffee. Bree tilted her head, smirk curling, eyes dancing. But I poured it. That makes it my coffee. Plus, I get first sip. Rules are rules. Vi stepped closer, fingers brushing Bree's arm deliberately. I don't care about rules. I care about me. And me says, hand it over. Bree laughed, twirling the cup in her fingers. You want it? Come and take it, Black Widow. And just like that, the room became a battlefield. Vi lunged, Bree ducked, fingers and lips colliding mid-motion, banter flying faster than any bullet ever could. Every stolen kiss, every playful shove, every heated glance was a tiny victory and a surrender all at once. Hours, or maybe minutes, who could tell, passed in this delicious war of teasing and touches. And then they found it, a small cabin on the outskirts of Vienna, tucked among snowy pines, windows fogged with warmth and promise. This is perfect, Vi said, scanning the cozy interior. No one knows. No one can find us. Just us. Bree ran her hand along Vi's arm, fingers lingering in a touch that was half affectionate, half mischievous. Us, huh? Guess I get the first choice of the couch, or bed, or maybe just you. Vi smirked, tugging Bree close, their bodies pressing together as if to claim the cabin and each other by sheer force. I think we'll negotiate. Over kisses. And maybe coffee. Oh, we'll negotiate, Bree whispered, lips brushing the shell of Vi's ear, voice low and teasing. But I warn you, I don't play fair. Vi growled softly, tugging Bree closer, lips capturing hers in a kiss that was equal parts challenge and surrender. Good. Neither do I. And there, in the quiet cabin, Vienna outside, the snow falling softly, the war outside forgotten, their playful battle continued over coffee, kisses, dominance, and surrender. Every argument was a spark, every embrace a flame, and every glance a reminder. This was theirs, entirely theirs, and no loyalty or queen could touch it here. Scene 28, Vienna cabin, life in fire and flirtation. Snow fell softly outside the cabin, muffling the city sounds, turning the world beyond into a quiet, white dream. Inside, warmth radiated from the small fireplace, the scent of coffee and vanilla lingering in the air. Vi leaned against the doorway, black coat discarded, hair messy in a way Bree secretly loved. Bree sprawled on the rug, laptop open, eyebrows furrowed as she worked, though Vi could tell half of it was scrolling for fun. You know, Vi said, voice low, dangerous, stepping closer, I could make you actually work. Or make you crawl into bed and forget all about deadlines. Bree tilted her head, smirk tugging at her lips. And miss watching you sulk over spilled coffee this morning? Never. Besides, I like watching you squirm when I win. Vi growled softly, crossing the room and pressing a shoulder into Bree's side. You barely won because I let you. Admit it. Admit it. Bree laughed, swiping a finger along Vi's arm, grazing skin in the most distracting way possible. Darling, I don't need you to admit it. You're mine. And I like seeing that fire in your eyes when I push your buttons. The morning passed in a tangle of teasing, touches, and mock arguments. They moved seamlessly between coffee and kisses, laptop screens and whispered threats, sometimes colliding mid-motion and falling into each other in laughing, breathless heaps. By afternoon, snow had coated the world outside in thick white. Bree leaned back against Vi on the couch, legs draped over her lap, fingers tracing idle patterns on her arm. You know, Bree murmured, voice low and playful, we're ridiculous. Two of the most dangerous women in the world, and we spend our days arguing over coffee and who touched whose hair first. Vi pressed a kiss to Bree's temple, lips lingering. Ridiculous and perfect. This is the only war I'll ever lose on purpose. Evenings became ritualistic, with hot dinners they cooked together and argued over, stolen kisses in the kitchen, and long debates over who got the fireplace seat. Every disagreement ended in laughter or a kiss, or both. At night, they fell into bed tangled, limbs entwined, whispers of teasing and love mingling with soft moans and laughter. Vi's dominance met Bree's playful defiance in a dance of fire and intimacy, where every touch, every bite, every spark of sarcasm was a declaration of belonging. The cabin was theirs, a world where no rival, no queen, no loyalty could touch them. Yet the fire never dulled, it just shifted, simmering beneath the surface in banter, challenges, and stolen moments, keeping their connection sharp, dangerous, and irresistible. Epilogue: Vienna Cabin, a day in their life. Mornings. Vi's alarm rings, a deep, insistent growl of a sound she picked just to annoy Bree. Bree snores softly, curled in a ball. Vi leans over the bed, fingers brushing Bree's cheek, whispering, "Move. Coffee waits for no one, darling." Bree groans, smirking as she stretches, one hand trailing across Vi's chest. "You're ridiculous." "You're late," Vi snaps playfully, pushing her off the bed. Bree retaliates with a tickle to her ribs. Laughter erupts, echoing through the cabin. Coffee is brewed, argued over, spilled once or twice. Vi insists on black, Bree smirks and adds cream. They steal sips from each other's cups, hands brushing, eyes locking, lips grazing over quick, teasing kisses. Middays. They work, or try to, in bursts of focus and distraction. Bree sprawled on the couch with her laptop, Vi pacing, arms crossed, ready to swoop in with sarcastic commentary at any moment. A minor spat breaks out over the placement of a rug. Vi pins Bree to the wall. "You will not win this one," she growls. Bree laughs, wiggling under her hold. "We'll see about that." Lunch is a collaborative mess. Laughter, spilled sauce, a minor fire in the toaster that Vi dramatically saves Bree from. Kisses are exchanged as punishment and reward. Afternoons. They take walks through Vienna's snowy streets, bantering over everything. Architecture, how Bree insists on walking in the snow first to leave footprints, which Vi declares a war crime. Hands entwine, playful shoves, stolen kisses under the pale winter sun. Evenings. Dinner in the cabin. Candles flicker, music low. Vi tries to make pasta, Bree critiques the technique mercilessly. Flower fights break out, ending in giggling, breathless kisses. Fireplace crackling, they lounge with blankets over their laps, teasing, arguing, playing games of strategy, chess, checkers, even impromptu pranks. Every glance, every smirk, every touch is a reminder they belong to each other. Nights. They fall into bed, limbs entwined, bodies warm and slick with the day's playful battles. Sarcasm turns soft, whispered confessions, fingers tracing, kisses deep and lingering. "You know," Bree murmurs, lips brushing Vi's, "I'd follow you anywhere." Vi smiles, brushing hair from her face, voice low and full of promise. "Anywhere. And I'd fight to keep you with me." The night passes in laughter, stolen touches, playful dominance, and tender surrender. The cabin is alive with the fire of them, unrestrained, unbroken, and utterly theirs. Outside, Vienna sleeps quietly. Inside, the world is theirs. No rivalries, no wars, no queens, just them in fire, love, and chaos. Here Violante, Vi, Di Giuseppe and Sabrina, Bree, Lucarelli found their peace and will protect it fiercely. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.